The Studio Players Guild presents Once to Every Man. It is Christmas Eve. Crowds of people surge in and out of town, most with one thought in mind, to spend Christmas at home. A haughty uptowner jostles against a wide-eyed little girl from the slums. The pastor of a famous cathedral rubs shoulders with a notorious gangster. Porters laden with suitcases hurry to and fro. Tired little children cry fretfully as they are dragged through the crowds. Happy, excited people shout hello, and sad, lonely souls wave goodbye, while the big clock slowly ticks the seconds away. And here in the midst of all this noise and confusion, we see a man. His shoulders are bent, and he peers anxiously, almost beseechingly, into the faces of the passers-by. Suddenly, he staggers and would have fallen except for the strong arms of a young man which reach out and catch him.
Hey there, old-timer. Take it easy. You'd better watch your step. It's most Christmas. Christmas ain't no time to pass out.
No, I guess it isn't. Thank you, my boy. I'll be all right now. I guess the noise and crowds rather confused me.
I guess something did all right. Gee, you had me scared for a minute there. I thought you was a ghost. Feel okay now?
Yes, thank you. I am sure I'll be all right.
Well, I ain't so sure. What you doing here anyway? You act as if you don't know your way around this bird. Here, you'd better lean on my arm for a minute, huh? There, that's better, ain't it?
Yes. You're kind. Very kind.
Ah, skip it. I ain't done nothing. Just that I don't want to see nothing happen to an old guy like you so near Christmas. But we can't stand here like this. We're in everybody's way. How about walking a bit, maybe?
Yes, of course.
Swell. Let's get out of this mob. They get my goat anyway, looking so happy and all going somewhere. I ain't going no place special, so I'll walk along with you. Come on. You know, I've been watching you. First I thought you was pie-eyed. Then I thought you was waiting for somebody. But I guess you ain't. You're just hungry, ain't you?
I'm just tired. Desperately tired.
Yeah, and half-starved, too. Ain't you got no folks to take care of you? Ah, don't look that way. It ain't no crime to be broke. Ask me, I ought to know. The only crime in this man's town is to stay that way. Say, how about you and me finding some joint someplace and getting a cup of java, maybe?
Thank you. But I've already been too much trouble.
Ah, listen to the guy. You ain't no trouble, old-timer. Fact is, I like you. I sort of want to talk to you. Maybe together we can work something out, huh? How about it?
Very well, if you really insist.
Swell. Nothing like two down-and-outers getting together, huh? Let's walk over to Bill's place. It's only a couple of blocks, and maybe the air will do you good.
Listen. What's that? Do you hear singing?
What's the matter? Think you're imagining things? It's the Salvation Army over on the next street. Boy, what they do for a little publicity. Did you say something?
Perhaps they have another reason.
Oh, yeah? Don't kid yourself. If you'd kicked around this town as long as I have, you know everything's a racket. Nobody does nothing for something. They all got the same idea. Get all you can while the getting's good.
Do you mind if I go over and listen?
Say, have you fallen for their line? Okay, don't look at me like that. If you have, you have. Well, so long, old-timer. I guess this is where we part. Don't take no wooden nickels or... Hey, you still don't look so hot. Maybe I'd better go along with you, just in case. Sure, that's what I'll do. Maybe we'll both get a laugh. And boy, can I stand one. Well, here we are, old-timer. Say, they ain't so bad after all, are they? I used to know that song when I was a kid. Come on, let's scram. This ain't no place for us. Let's get over to...
Wait. I think that girl is going to sing a solo.
So what? Gals are always singing, but that don't mean I gotta stand here in the cold and listen. She don't mean nothing in my young life. She's probably just another dame who thinks that... Okay, but I still say we're wasting our time.
Voice is very sweet, isn't it?
It's all right.
She looks almost inspired as she stands there.
Oh, it's only an act. She's some dame... Holy cats.
My boy, what's the matter? You look as if you'd seen a ghost. What are you staring at?
Nothing. That wasn't beautiful, wasn't it? I wish she'd sing some more, but I guess she won't, will she?
I'm afraid not. See, they're getting ready to leave. Shall we walk along? That girl was very lovely, wasn't she? And her voice, it was like...
Don't you know who she was? Ah, what's the matter with me? Of course you don't know. It was Janie.
Janie? Someone you know?
Yeah, she's someone I know, all right. We was engaged once. Only she broke it because she said I was a no-good guy headed for trouble, that's why. I'm crazy about her, old-timer. There ain't nothing in the world I wouldn't do for her. But I ain't seen her since that night in the park when...
I'm getting awfully tired, Pete. Let's sit down and rest a while.
Sure. Why didn't you say something sometime before? Gee, we must have walked for miles. Come on, we'll sit over here on this bench. Won't be so windy over here.
All right. Gee, I wonder just how many nights we've sat here.
Well, it's better than sitting in Grand Park, ain't it? And I ain't got the money to take you to the movies and places like that.
Oh, but I like it here, Pete. Honestly, I do. And someday you will have the money for all those things. And then we'll look back and laugh at how we sat
Oh,
here.
what's the use of kidding yourself? I'll never have no money, and you know it. We'll just go on like this until you get tired of waiting. Or until you find somebody who can take you places.
Oh, Pete, stop that silly talk. You know Oh, Pete, look. There's the evening star.
So what?
Oh, make a wish on it. Maybe it'll come true.
Yeah? Say, do you fall for all that bunk?
Oh, but they say if you wish on the evening star, it'll come true. Your wish, I mean.
Sure, people say lots of things. They say the war's over and that a guy with ambition can get a job. They say that...
Oh, Pete, don't act so bitter, please. Things will turn out all right. I know they will if you only wait.
Yeah? And while I'm waiting, I suppose I can sit back and relax, huh? Make me laugh. Things will never be better for me, and you know it. I'm just one of them guys that'll never get a break.
Oh, don't say that, Pete. You mustn't feel that way. It's almost Christmas. And Christmas is the beginning of new life and hope.
And that's another laugh. You can be just as hungry and just as broke at Christmas as any other time. The whole thing's nothing but a lot of hooey.
Oh, Pete, you can't talk that way. You mustn't.
Why not?
Oh, because it isn't right. Don't you see? You shouldn't have so much bitterness and hatred in your heart.
No? I suppose I should be happy, huh? I should go around singing and shouting just 'cause another Christmas has rolled around. Of course, it don't mean a thing that I'm broke, that I gotta watch Ma getting older and tireder every day. That's nothing, is it?
Oh, but I'm sure that...
Of course not. Christmas is a swell time, ain't it? They'll have special choirs in the churches. Folks will be parading down Fifth Avenue and all their...
Oh, stop talking that way, Pete. You don't understand.
You mean you don't? What do you know about how I feel? You got a job. Only yourself to worry about. But me, I got Ma. And what's going to become of us?
Oh, something will turn up. I know it will.
You're darn tootin' it will, because I'm going to make it.
You frighten me when you look and talk like that. What do you mean?
I mean that for once in her life, Ma's going to have a real Christmas. She's going to have a new dress and flowers.
But where'll you get the money?
You figure that out.
You mean... Oh, no, Pete, you couldn't.
Oh, yes, I could. And that's just what I'm going to do, too. Lots of people have got more money than they know what to do with. And I'm going to have some of it, me and Ma.
No. No, Pete. You've got to listen
You
to...
can save your breath, Janie. Nothing you can say will make any difference at all. I've tried the right way. Tried darn hard, and it just didn't work. Now I'm going to...
I won't let you. Don't you understand, Pete? I love you, and I won't let you do wrong.
Do you think I want to? Of course I don't. But I got to do something. It ain't for me, Janie. It's for Ma. She's old, and she's got a right to have a little happiness. She ought to have pretty things like other folks got. And she's going to get them no matter how I have to get them.
But she wouldn't want them if you got them that way.
She'll never know unless you start talking. And if you do, so help me, Janie, I'll... Where are you going, Janie?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm just going.
But it's early. We can sit here and talk a little longer. It ain't too cold yet.
I'm sorry, Pete, but we haven't anything to talk about.
Yes, we have. Of course we have, Janie. I love you. You know that. I've been crazy about you ever since we was little kids. Sit down, honey. There's lots of things I want to tell you. We're going to have money, see, and we're going to get married.
No, Pete.
But you've got to marry me. You know I love you. And you love me, too. You said so yourself.
Let go of my arm. Let go, I say.
But, Janie...
Let me alone. I never want to see you again. I hate you.
You don't mean that. You couldn't. Why, I just couldn't go on without you. I love you, don't you understand? We belong to each other.
You love me.
You know I do. And you love me, too. You love me more when I've got the money to give you.
That's how much I love you, Pete.
Okay. That's the way you feel about it. I guess we're all washed up, ain't we? Well, go on. What are you waiting for? Go on, beat it before I sock you one back. Well, I guess that's that. Now I ain't even got my girl. All right, Evening Star. Go on, do your darndest. I'm making a wish. I'm wishing that... Well, that's what happened, old-timer. And I ain't seen her until tonight. Now Oh, come on, let's get out of here. What are we waiting for anyway? Come on.
Perhaps if we stand here, she'll see you. Maybe she hasn't left yet.
But I don't want her to see us. Don't you savvy? I just want to forget her, see? Come on, let's get over to Bill's place and get some coffee. Guess I need it more than you do. Boy, it feels good to get in there out of the cold, don't it? To get away from that squeaky singing. Well, how do you feel now, old-timer? They sure have swell coffee here, don't they? There's nothing like a cup of Java to put a fella on his feet.
There's nothing like kindness.
Forget it, will you? Sit back and relax. Say, do you want a good laugh? This'll hand you one. You know, if you hadn't got faint like you did, I wouldn't have come to a joint like this. I'd have been in a dough.
In the dough?
Sure, dough. Mazuma. You know, the stuff that makes the world go round. Don't look so puzzled. I mean money, the thing that talks. Say, where you been all your life?
Many places, my boy. Many places.
But never the right one, huh? Oh, I started to give you a laugh, didn't I? Well, listen to this. Did you see that swell-looking dame standing near you in the station? I was going to lift her pocketbook. But you started to keel over, so I couldn't.
Lift her pocketbook?
Sure, why not? She had plenty. Them dames always do. Why, I seen her stuff a wad of bills in it as big as my fist. And I'll bet she's got plenty more where that come from. And me with a dime in my jeans. 10 cents.
You haven't even that now.
No. But don't look at me like that. What if I have spent it? I guess you and me feel 100% better than we did, huh?
I'm sure of that.
Then so what? You know, I've been thinking a lot since Janie and me busted up, and I still think I'm right. Why should some people have everything and others not? Now, take Ma, for example. She's never done nobody no harm, but what's she getting out of life? Nothing. Only me to worry about. You can't make me believe the Lord meant things to be like that.
Just how do you think he meant things to be?
Well, I think he meant for people to share and to love and to understand each other. And, listen to me, jabbering like some dame. I don't know what ails me tonight.
I wish you'd jabber some more.
Nah, I've said too much already. But there's something about you that makes me feel that, well, that no matter how sappy I talk, you understand. When a fellow's down and out, he's got to talk to somebody or he'd go nuts. You see, there's... Hey, old-timer. Look, get a load of that drunk at the next table. Holy smoke. Lamp the roll of bills. They choke a cow. Boy, what half of that wouldn't buy for Christmas. And it ain't too late to get in the stores either.
That you, Pete? I've been worried about you. Where you been so late? Did you find a job?
You'd be surprised, Ma. I'll be right in and tell you all about it. Here, give me your hat, old-timer. Well, what's the matter? Come on, I want you to meet Ma.
That's very kind. But perhaps I shouldn't have come. Maybe I'm intruding.
Of course you ain't. It's most Christmas, ain't it? We gotta celebrate.
Yes, but your mother. Perhaps she won't want me.
Good night. You must have one of them inferior complexes they talk about. Now, don't you worry about Ma. She'll sputter when she first sees you, but she don't mean nothing by it. She's just kind of bitter and suspicious of everybody. Come on, let's go in.
Well, this is a fine time for you to be coming home, ain't it? And on Whoa, who's this you've got with you?
Hi, Ma. This is... Say, that's good. I don't even know your name, do I?
You called me old-timer when we first met.
Oh, sure. Well, Ma, meet old-timer. Him and me are friends.
This is a pleasure.
Yeah, ain't it? Well, we ain't got no time for a worthless bum like you, so get going.
Ma, don't talk like that. He's no bum. He's my friend.
I can't help it, Pete. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but we ain't got enough in the house for the two of us. And now you bring home a stranger. He'll just have to find himself...
Say, hold your horses, will you? You're talking about food. Forget it. We'll have plenty to eat if you'll go to the store. That is, if it's still open.
Go to the store? A lot of good that'll do. You know our credit ain't good anymore.
Who's talking about credit? We're gonna pay cash. Here, take a look at this.
What?
Well, go on, take it. It's only money. It won't bite. Ma ain't seen no money in so long, she don't know what it looks like.
A $10 bill. So you did. After all my talking and praying, you went out and done it. How could you do it, Pete? How could you?
Listen, Ma, old-timer and me...
Old-timer? That's it. It's all his fault. You were a good boy until you met him, and now look at you. You're a thief. A common thief, and it's his fault.
For the love of Mike, Ma, stop raving. Old-timer's a grand guy. He ain't done nothing.
Nothing. Only made you steal.
But...
To think I'd ever live to see the day when my son would be...
Hey, Ma, somebody's at the door. Ain't you gonna answer it?
Sure, I'll go. I'll know who it is, but I'll go just the same. I'll let them in, and I'll tell them my boy's a thief. I'll let them drag you off to jail.
Well, for heaven's sakes, Ma, stop that sniveling and go on, answer it. Maybe it's a corsage or whatever they call them bunches of flowers that women wear.
Oh, why, Janie, it's you. I can't believe my eyes. You ain't been here in so long that I...
Well, aren't you glad to see me? How are you, Ma? And Pete, is he home?
Yeah, he's here. Come on in. He's home all right, but I don't know for how long. Here, let me take your coat. I'm glad you came, Janie. You're bound to hear about it sooner or later.
Why, Ma, what's wrong? You've been crying. Is it something about Pete? He isn't sick, is he? Where is he, Ma? Tell me.
In the other room. Come along in.
Who was it, Ma? Did you... Janie, it's you. You said you never wanted to see me again. You said you hated me.
I know I did. But when I saw you tonight, I knew I didn't mean it. I knew that no matter what you do, I'll always... Well, Pete, what's happened to you? You look different.
What do you mean? I ain't no different.
Well, yes, you are, Pete. You've changed. You look as if you're...
Say, is everybody crazy? First Ma lands on me like a ton of bricks, and now you try to tell me I'm different.
Oh, but you are. You used to be... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you had company.
He's got company, all right. Bad company.
Good night, Ma. Lay off, will you? Janie, I want you to shake hands with old Timer. Ever since I found him, my luck sure changed.
How are you?
How do you do, Jane?
You should have seen the guy before I found him. He was really down and out. That cup of Java I give him certainly fixed him up. Well, now that we're all acquainted, let's sit down. Gee, you sung swell tonight, Janie. I didn't know you was... Say, what are you staring at?
Oh, nothing. Only haven't I seen your friend somewhere? I'm sure I have.
Maybe you seen him tonight. We was standing together listening to you sing, and you was great, too. Even old Timer said your voice was
beautiful. Oh, no, it wasn't tonight. I didn't see anyone but you, Pete. But I've seen him somewheres, I know.
Ever had your purse snatched?
Lay off, Ma. Janie, tell me why you come here tonight. Is it on account of it's Christmas Eve?
I don't know, Pete. I honestly don't know. But somehow, tonight, when I was singing, I had the strangest feeling, as if something big was going to happen to you, to us.
You must have had a premonition, because it's already happened to Pete. He's done what he's always said he'd do. He's stolen. Now I guess you're glad you threw him over. A nice gal like you ain't got no business with
No, he couldn't. I don't believe it. He never really meant those things he said. Did you, Pete?
That's where you're wrong, Janie. He meant them all right, and he's done it, I tell you. Here's a $10 bill he just gave me, and it's my guess that he's got plenty more. What gets me is how he's got the nerve to hold his
head up. Now listen, Ma. Ever since I give you that money tonight, I've been trying to tell you I didn't steal it. Can't you understand? I didn't steal it. I found it.
You found it, all right, in somebody's pocket.
No, Ma, honest. We was just walking along, old Timer and me, and I happened to look down, and there it was. That's the truth, Ma. So help me.
Of course it is, Pete. I knew something wonderful would happen, and this is it. Oh, I felt it when I looked up and saw you standing there tonight. Not hard and bitter like you used to be, but happy and sort of humble acting. And you were singing, Pete. Singing like you used to do when we were kids.
I don't know why I did a fool thing like that, but I couldn't help it. I almost imagined there wasn't no more poverty in the world, no more hatred. Nothing but a beautiful peace that made me happy. And Janie, you know I ain't religious, but something happened to me tonight. Something I can't understand. What was it, Janie?
I don't know, Pete. But it happened to both of us. Because I felt the same way. I felt almost as if... Oh, you know what I mean.
Yeah, Janie, I know.
And Pete, I know something else. From now on, no matter what happens, we belong together. If we're together, we can face anything.
You mean that, Janie?
Yes, Pete.
Oh, Janie, honey, nothing can scare me now, and nothing can ever make me think I want to do wrong. Why, honey, together we'll go out and lick the world and...
Pete, look at your friend. Heaven help us. What's happening here?
Oh, my goodness, I forgot you had company. Old Timer, I hope you'll excuse us for... Look, Pete. What's happening to him? He's changed.
Holy smoke.
Well, he isn't bent and stooped anymore, and he's smiling at us, Pete. His face is radiant, and Pete, I'm afraid.
So am I. He's changed, Pete. Pete, who is he?
Pete, do you hear it?
Listen, that music. Where's it coming from? Where? Pete, this must be a miracle.
You're right, Ma. It is a miracle. Old-timer, tell us what's come over you. Tell us what's happening. Old-timer, say something.
Look at that light. It's so brilliant that it almost blinds me. And that music.
Old-timer, listen to me. Tell us who you are. Don't leave us.
I shall never leave you, my boy, because where there is kindness, there am I. Where there are love and faith and courage, I shall always be. When you took me into your life, you took love and faith and courage into your heart. When you helped a destitute old man, you found the true meaning of Christmas.
Oh, Pete, look. He's gone. He's gone, Pete. And the light, that's fading too.
Now I know who he was.
Inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me.
Of joy, charity, and brotherhood come to you all as you celebrate Christmas in your hearts. Tonight's special Christmas presentation of Once to Every Man by the Studio's Players Guild was written by Philip Glancer. Our cast, in the role of Pete, the disillusioned young man, you heard
Barb Waters.
Enacting the role of his sweetheart Janie was
Hope Markham.
Pete's mother was played by
Betty Boynton.
And as the old-timer you heard
Bert Walker.
It is planned to continue these presentations by the Studio Players Guild on a monthly basis. Our objective is twofold: to bring our listeners an opportunity to hear residents of this area in various types of dramatic productions, and secondly, to give interested persons a chance to participate in them. Those listening who might be interested in joining our group are requested to contact Earl Kelly at WWNY for further information. We think you will be interested in knowing that tonight's was the first program to originate from the new studio at the Home of Music on Stone Street in Watertown. And we want to thank Charles Curtis and Douglas Holmes and their staff for their cooperation in making this possible. In closing, may we note that Louis Washburn was at the organ, while the solo voice heard was that of Lucette Rousseau. The program was produced by Earl Kelly and directed by Jim Higgins. And now, till our next production, this is Lyman Manser saying good night, and from all of us, a very Merry Christmas. WWNY, the Hotel Woodruff, Watertown, New York. The Studio Players Guild presents The Unforgettable Smile by Martin Ryerson.
The lobby of the small-town hotel was heavy, with the torpid, dull afternoon silence peculiar to small-town hotel lobbies. So quiet indeed that the regular ticking of the old-fashioned pendulum clock over the clerk's desk punctuated the atmosphere like rifle shots. One of the local citizens sat on the horsehair sofa in the corner, reading the paper, leaning to one side occasionally to score a direct hit on the spittoon at his right. The clerk, sitting on a high stool behind the desk, mumbled the names to himself as he sorted mail from the afternoon delivery. Other than that, there was no sound, except for the occasional buzzing of a fly trapped in a spider web behind a window shade. It was natural, then, that the sudden appearance of Mr. Conway racing down the stairs into the lobby had somewhat the effect of an earthquake.
Clerk. Yes, Mr. Conway? I've been asleep in my room. The mail. It must have come.
Just checking it now, Mr. Conway. Sorry, but there ain't a thing for you.
There must be.
Look for it yourself. There's all the C's, 3 letters.
Well, it's most important, clerk. I'm terribly worried. Now, please check again.
Checking won't do no good. I've been through him twice now. There's no letter, Mr. Conway.
Well, perhaps I'd better call the telegraph office. There might be something
Already
over
done
there.
it. Nothing there either.
No, she wouldn't do this. She'd have written. Something must have happened.
What's that?
Oh, nothing. I'm just terribly worried about a friend of mine, that's all. The man gets to, well, imagining things.
I see. You still planning to check out?
Now, look here. I'll be at the Golden Hotel in Southport tonight. If anything comes in, send it to me there immediately. It's extremely important. Now, I know the letter must be on its way. Please send it at once. I must have it right away. Please, now, the Golden Hotel.
No, sir, not a thing. Of course, you only just arrived. Maybe tomorrow morning's mail.
Yes, of course. Tomorrow morning.
Your room is ready, sir. Do you wish to go up?
Very well. Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Conway. If anything comes in, I'll call you immediately.
This way, Mr. Conway. Your bag is around near the elevator. This way, please. Just follow me. It's a little warm tonight, so I took the liberty of opening the window. The chambermaid brought in fresh towels. Anything else, Mr. Conway?
No, not now. Oh, here you are.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Conway. If you want anything, ice water
Yes, I'll call you.
Operator.
Please get me long distance, operator. The number is Abington 7906, and hurry, will you?
Yes, sir. Operator, long distance, Abington 7906, please.
Abington 7906.
This is Southport 3921.
Thank you.
I am ringing Abington 7906.
Thank you.
Abington 7906 does not answer.
Well, keep ringing, please.
There's no answer.
Keep ringing. She must answer. Now call me back if she does.
Yes, sir. I'll call you.
It's most important, operator. Keep trying. I'll be waiting right here for the call. Keep trying all night if you have to. Hazel, darling, I've been waiting for you to call.
On your call to Abington, the number still does not answer. Shall I try again a little later?
Operator, there must be some mistake. I know she's there.
Very well, sir. I'll try again, sir. I'll call you.
Yes. Hazel?
Number still does not answer. Shall I call?
No, don't call any more tonight. But I want you to send a telegram. Now, here's the message. Miss Hazel Reed. You've got the number there. Your long silence worries me. Call me without fail tomorrow, love, Larry. Now place that with the Abington operator and call me when the message is received at that number. And please check that Abington operator for me in a few hours.
Certainly, sir.
And get me the desk clerk, please.
Desk.
This is Lawrence Conway. Have there been any special delivery letters or any special messages come for me?
No, Mr. Conway. We'd send them up immediately.
Well, I'd be grateful if you'd be on the lookout for anything like that. I'm especially anxious about something.
Mr. Conway, on your call to Abington, the number still does not...
All right, operator. Call the garage and have my car sent around. I'm checking out. Get me the desk, please.
You're sure that something has happened to Hazel, aren't you, Larry Conway? Yes, things can happen to a girl like Hazel Reed. Ambitious, tantalizing Hazel Reed. One moment, all smiles and warmth. The next, cool and calculating, hard as a diamond. She plays the game with the wrong man, and then what? Something happens, and she doesn't answer her telephone. So the sensible thing to do is to drive to Abington yourself, isn't it? With the speedometer needle wavering around 70, it's only a couple of hours till you're running up the front steps of her house at the edge of town.
Hazel. Hazel, darling. Are you here?
Put on the lights, Brock.
Oh, who are you?
Stay right where you are. Don't move.
Wait a minute. What is this?
Put your hands to the back of your head. That's right. Better frisk him, Brock.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Listen, Mr. Brock, I don't know what you're trying to do
here. Just take it easy, pal. Okay, you can put your hands down.
What are you doing here? Where's Miss Reed?
Sit down. My name's Healy, Homicide Detail. This is Sergeant Brock.
I don't care who you are. Where is she?
Wait a minute. Now tell me, why did you come here?
I've been trying to get in touch with her for 3 days. When she didn't answer, I came to find out why. Have you arrested her or something?
That's kind of a stupid question.
Will you stop talking in riddles? I've driven all the way from Southport
Shut
to
up.
find...
Hazel Reed is here.
Well, then what are you doing
in the next room, strangled to death.
Hazel? Dead? What happened?
Get the guy's hands, Chief. Big and strong.
Wait a minute. What are you trying to do?
You're Conway, aren't you? The guy she was running around with? Tossed over a week or so ago?
Listen, don't look at me.
We're going into headquarters, Conway. Brock and me, we got a little problem on our hands. Also, we got you on our hands. Let's go someplace where you can tell us all about it.
So they want you to tell them all about it, Larry. With the irritating, punishing persistence peculiar to homicide officers, they pound away at it, over and over again, as you sit facing them in the office at headquarters. Hazel Reed has been murdered, and to them it follows naturally that you killed her. At first it had seemed like it would be a mere matter of explaining that you were nowhere near Abington at the time. But now it looks more serious, and you're beginning to get just a little frantic.
Listen, I tell you. For the love of heaven, will you stop that typewriter? You don't have to take down everything I say.
There, now, take it easy, Mr. Conway.
Blast you, let me go. I didn't kill her.
Well, why didn't you say so? If you didn't kill her, there's no point in holding you. Got that down, Brock?
Blast you, let me go. I didn't kill her.
Good. Can't blame us for being suspicious, Conway.
Yeah, you can't trust people nowadays.
But now we got it in writing. Conway says he didn't do it.
All right. Can I go?
In a minute. Now, let's see. You say on Wednesday you went to a movie in the afternoon. Stayed there till about 6. Had dinner around 7:30. Then went to your hotel room about 9 and read till 11.
Well, I can prove every minute. The hotel clerk, and bellboys, and, well, there's the telephone operator.
Sure. Only one thing. What were you doing in a movie on Wednesday afternoon?
I told you I'm a traveling salesman. I was in Brookside. It's a lot like other little towns. They close the shops on Wednesday afternoons.
Good, that ties it up nice and tight. Right, Brock?
Couldn't be tighter.
Well, I can go then?
Well, you're all set for Wednesday.
All right, then. I'd better call my office.
Just a minute. Only one thing, Mr. Conway. The coroner says the murder took place on Thursday, between 5 and midnight.
What are you getting at?
I'm awful sorry, Mr. Conway. Now that we got Wednesday all tied up, we got to go through it all over again for Thursday. Now, where were you on Thursday? Afternoon and evening. We're in no hurry, so think hard, Mr. Conway. Think real hard.
It's clear now they were playing cat and mouse with you, weren't they, Larry? A couple of small-town cops have been to too many movies, and you're too tired to think. You drained your mind trying to put Wednesday together, and now, when you try to move on to Thursday, all you can find in your memory is a big blotch of time. The hours all mixed up.
Try it again, Mr. Conway.
I'm tired. I loved her so much. It's been an awful strain here. Listen, I can't stand this third degree. I want a lawyer.
You're going to have to account for Thursday sooner or later.
Look, if I'd killed her, would I have tried to telephone her? Sent her a telegram? Risked my neck going to her house?
Maybe.
Look, it's not up to me to prove where I was. I don't have to say anything. It's up to you to prove I was at her house the night she was killed. Go on. Go ahead and prove it.
Okay, Conway. We're holding you tonight on suspicion of murder. Tomorrow morning, we'll all go down to Southport together and get to work on Thursday. That's fair enough, huh?
Now, listen, miss. You remember me.
Wait a minute, Conway.
Yes, officer?
This man says he was here in this hotel on Thursday. Do you remember him?
Oh, why, yes. He asked me for his mail, and there wasn't any for him.
You remember everyone who asked for mail?
No, but I remember him. He made quite a point of it. Something important, he said.
About what time was it?
Well, let's see. The mail comes in at 5. I finished sorting it about 5:30, so
it was sometime after that?
Yes.
Thanks. So far, so good. Brock?
Yeah. Where to now, Chief?
That's up to Mr. Conway.
Well, I went up to my room and tried to call Hazel on the phone, but there wasn't any answer.
Naturally.
And then, let's see. I went out for dinner. Grand Cafe.
Right. Okay, Brock. Next stop, Grand Cafe.
Yes, I remember. He went over the menu with me and decided on the Thursday special. Corned beef and cabbage. And when he was leaving, he forgot his change, and I called him back.
I see. Oh, you remember all your customers that well?
I remember him, officer. He left me $1 tip.
Huh. Made a point of that, too, didn't you, Conway?
Now, see here, Healy.
Never mind. That's all, waiter. Thanks.
You're quite welcome, sir. If there's anything else...
See here, Healy.
Never mind. That's all, waiter. Thanks.
You're quite welcome, sir. If there's anything else that
Sure, we'll call you. All right, Conway. So you left the restaurant and went back to the room at the hotel.
That's right. You see, I wanted
Then why didn't you answer your telephone? You told the operator to call you every 20 minutes. At 9:15, she called and no one answered.
Well, you didn't let me finish.
20 minutes. At 9:15, she called and no one answered.
Well, you didn't let me finish. I went to my room to get a letter I'd forgotten to mail, and...
And then what?
Then I went out to a movie.
The guy likes movies.
Which movie, Conway?
The Globe.
I see. And one with double features and all, you were there from 7 to 11.
That's right.
Now, this is the one that really counts, Conway. Hazel Reed died sometime between 5 and midnight, you know.
Yes, I know.
Would anyone remember you at the theater?
Why, I think the ticket girl would remember me.
Why? Because you're so good looking, or maybe you made a point of that too, huh?
Tell me, Conway, if you were so anxious about Hazel Reed, if you told the operator to call her every 20 minutes, why did you go out to a movie?
Well, Lieutenant, she'd put me through quite an ordeal, and I wanted to give her some of her own medicine. I was hoping she'd call while I was out.
You know, either you're lying, or you're taking the hardest way of telling the truth I ever saw.
Well, you do believe me, don't you?
I'll let you know after we talk to that ticket girl. Brock, get us a cab, will you?
Yes, Larry, everything depends on that ticket girl. If she remembers you, the 4 hours during which Hazel Reed was killed are accounted for. And Brock and Healy will have to find themselves some other unfortunate suspect to bludgeon. But you're sure she'll remember you? Brock was right, wasn't he? You did make a special point of it.
Well, Conway, you said Globe Theater, didn't you? And this is the Globe.
Well, wait a minute. That's not the same girl.
What?
There was a different girl in the box office last Thursday.
Huh. We'll check with the manager. Okay, come on, let's go inside.
Yes, I know it was important, but all I know is that her name is Minnie Williams. She's only on temporarily.
Until when?
Well, she worked up till last night.
It's very important that we find her. Do you know where she lives?
Well, she was a stranger in town, and as a matter of fact, I haven't got her address in the payroll records. This Williams girl was around to fill in for a few days. She's paid out of the regular cashier's pay envelope.
Then Minnie Williams was just a fill-in, recommended by your steady cashier. Then they must be friends.
I suppose so.
What's her name? Where can we get in touch with her?
Only thing is, she left town and never told anybody where. You see, Miss Williams is slow in handling her money. Too slow to work steadily. So I'd let her go and promote one of the usherettes to steady cashier.
Does anybody here know where Miss Williams lives?
No, she didn't mix much with the help.
Listen, it's a matter of life and death.
Just a minute, Conway. Can you give us any help at all?
Wait a minute. Seems to me the projectionist. Let me check with him, will you? Be right back.
You can feel the cold sweat break out between your shoulder blades and roll slowly down your back. The whole plan, the whole ingenious scheme hangs on that ticket girl. Yes, Larry, this was something you couldn't foresee on that Thursday night you decided to kill Hazel Reed.
Well, I just talked to him. She lives in Walnut Street. Here's her address.
Thanks.
Lucky break, huh? I mean the projectionist, remember.
Yeah, lucky break.
I got a cab right here, Chief. What's the address?
We're sorry to bother you, Miss Williams. My name is Healy. This is Sergeant Brock.
How do you do?
And this, Miss Williams, is Mr. Conway. I want you to take a good look at him.
I don't understand.
Just tell me this. Have you ever seen Mr. Conway before?
I don't know. I might have, but...
At the theater last Thursday. I was the one
Wait a minute, Conway. We'd like to know, Miss Williams, whether or not this gentleman bought a theater ticket at the Globe last Thursday night.
Why, that... Oh, but you see, I can't...
Try to remember, Miss Williams.
Well, he might have. I don't know. He might have. But I can't remember everybody who buys a ticket.
Listen, Miss Williams. I stood in line. I asked what time it was, and what time the feature went on, and what was playing.
Oh, but there are lots of
The
people...
fellow in back of me got impatient. He started to make remarks. I thought you'd shortchange me, and, well, I kind of raised a fuss, I guess. And, oh, you must remember, Miss Williams.
I don't know, honest. There's so many people who are just like that I...
Try, Miss Williams.
No, I don't. I don't remember.
All right, Miss Williams. Thank you very much.
Healy. That doesn't mean I wasn't there. You can't expect her to remember everyone.
Sure, you might have bought that ticket. Might have gone in. The point is, how long did you stay?
And another thing, Conway. You taken a show on Wednesday afternoon, and another one on Thursday.
There's no law against that.
Of course not. But it just don't sound right, Conway, with the same pictures playing at both theaters.
Well, it's still up to you to prove that I had anything to do with this.
Sure, it's up to us. And after all, that's what a trial is for. Isn't that so, Conway?
So it finally happened, didn't it, Larry? In spite of the planning, the elaborate alibi, the multitude of witnesses, in spite of a confident lawyer who was sure the grand jury wouldn't find evidence enough against you, in spite of everything, it's come to trial. And you sit there listening to your lawyer cross-examining Lieutenant Healy.
Now, Lieutenant, according to your theory, Mr. Conway went to the movie, stayed a few minutes, left by a side entrance, drove 70 miles to Abington, strangled Miss Reed, drove 70 miles back to the theater, and mingled with the crowd as it left the movie.
I think we've demonstrated such a thing could be done.
That's exactly the point. The entire case for the prosecution rests on the possibility that such a thing could be done. The point is, was it done? Where is the proof? Can you prove my client left the theater? Can you prove he drove to Abington? Can you prove anything?
I said it was possible.
Your Honor, all the prosecution has done so far is to place Mr. Conway 70 miles from the victim at the time of the crime. An excellent point, I might add, for the defense. I therefore move that the court hand down a directed verdict in favor of my client.
I object, Your Honor. Don't you consider it strange that Mr. Conway, highly anxious about Miss Reed, instructed the operator to ring her every 20 minutes, then went off to a movie?
Mr. District Attorney, we've been here several days, and all we have heard is testimony involving the speed of a car and how long a movie lasts. Regardless of what I think or what you think, it is the task of the prosecution to place the accused in the presence of Hazel Reed on the day of the murder. Unless you are able to show that, on that day the two were together, I will have to consider the defense's motion for a directed verdict when the court reconvenes tomorrow.
Well, Larry, looks better now, doesn't it? Sure, the ticket to girl doesn't matter after all. Why, you should have known there was no way they could possibly prove you and Hazel were together. Your lawyer was right. The prosecution doesn't have a leg to stand on. And you've taken on some of his confidence now, as the court reconvenes on what you hope is the last day of the trial.
Take it easy, Conway.
I can't help worrying a little.
Forget it. It's put up or shut up for the DA today. You'll be a free man in about 10 minutes.
There he goes.
Your Honor, the prosecution admits working from a false assumption. We agree it was impossible for Conway to go to a movie, drive back to Abington, kill Hazel Reed, then drive 70 miles back to her hotel if the murder was committed at the time the coroner's report shows.
Do you challenge the coroner's statement?
No, Your Honor, we accept it.
Very well, Mr. District Attorney. In view of the statement you just made, I have no other
Your Honor.
alternative than... Yes?
Your Honor, I haven't conceded the case. I simply said we accept the coroner's report as the time of death and agree with the defense that Mr. Conway couldn't have covered such a great distance in order to commit the murder in Hazel Reed's house in Abington.
I understand that. Go on.
The point is simply this. Hazel Reed was not killed in her house.
Go on, Mr. District Attorney.
No, Your Honor, she was killed after she had been lured to the Globe Theater by Conway, where they met inside, in the lobby. Hazel Reed was murdered in his car, out on the highway somewhere after they had left the movie. His whole plan depended on the police believing she had been killed in her house at Abington.
I object, Your Honor. This is all mere conjecture, guesswork. There isn't one iota of proof. Not one witness.
Your Honor, I ask the court's permission to recall to the witness Minnie Williams to the stand.
Very well.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, help God?
I do.
Now, Miss Williams, you were selling tickets at the Globe Theater on the night of the murder?
Yes. Yes, sir, I was.
Here is an enlarged photograph of a woman. Look carefully. Miss Williams, have you ever seen her?
Oh, yes. I remember her.
Tell the court where and when you saw her, please.
Well, she bought a ticket from me on Thursday night. I remember her very well, sir.
What time Thursday night?
Well, I'm sure it was around 8 o'clock, just after I came on duty.
Your Honor, this is a photograph of Hazel Reed. That's all. Thank you. Your witness.
You have a most agile memory, Miss Williams.
Oh, no, sir. I don't have a good memory at all.
Yet you say you remember this woman. Out of hundreds of customers, you remember this woman.
Yes, sir. I remember her very well.
Yet you did not remember Mr. Conway, despite the fact that he held up the line, created considerable unrest among the rest of the customers, and even accused you of shortchanging him.
Well, you don't understand, sir. There's so many like that. Well, maybe he was there. But you see, I never remember who he was or what he looked like. There's so many.
I don't blame you a bit, Miss Williams. I might not remember him either. And yet you can sit there and swear you remember Hazel Reed. What kind of logic is that?
Please. I do remember
How long
her.
was she at the window?
Just long enough to buy a ticket.
So you saw her a few seconds. Yet you were so impressed that you remember her right now. Why?
Because she smiled at me.
She smiled?
She smiled and said I had a pretty dress. I know it sounds silly, but you see, I'm not a pretty girl. I know it. I've always known it. So when people come in long lines and complain about prices and ask about the shows and tell me I've cheated them.
Just a minute, Miss Williams. We're not interested in that at the moment. I want to impress you with this fact. A man's life is at stake. A man's life depends on your memory, Miss Williams. Is that clear?
I know it. I know it, I tell you.
And yet you can sit there under oath and claim to remember this woman who smiled at you.
You can't understand that, can you? You don't know what it is to sit in a glass cage night after night and to listen to them complain and accuse you of cheating them and look at you as if you were a machine.
That has nothing to do with what I...
It does. It has everything to do with it. She smiled. She said my dress was pretty. I remember that because no one ever did it before. I remember it. I always will. And nothing you say will ever make me change my mind.
Yes, Larry. The woman you murdered smiled at a girl who wasn't pretty and convicted you of murder. Your dollar tips, the telephone calls, the wires, the waiters, hotel clerks, nothing mattered after that. Hazel Reed smiled, and you went to the chair. Strange, isn't it?
You've been listening to the fourth presentation of the Studio Players Guild. Today's program, The Unforgettable Smile, was written by Martin Ryerson. And now, our cast. In the role of Larry Conway, you heard
Ed King.
Lieutenant Healy was played by
Jack Cleveland.
And Sergeant Brock was
Cliff Norfolk.
Enacting the part of Minnie Williams, you heard
Joe Zuccarini.
as the defense attorney
Bert Walker.
and the district attorney.
Norm Cummings.
Others actively assisting in the background were Russell Wright, Kay Wiley, Joe Nackery, Catherine Baker, Fred Sliter, John Savage, and Doug Atkinson. Appearing for the first time as a member of the cast and enacting the role of your narrator in today's production, you heard the director of the Studio Players Guild,
Jim Higgins.
The program was produced as usual by Earl Kelly. Sound effects were handled by Dave Graves, and Doug Card was at the studio organ.
The Studio Players Guild, Watertown's own radio dramatic group, presents The Plot Thickens, a mystery comedy, the fourth in a new weekly series of dramatic presentations. Good evening, everyone. This is Vern Wonderoff welcoming you to the fourth program in this new series of radio plays by the Studio Players Guild. The Guild's purpose is to give entertainment and to afford everyone the opportunity to participate in radio plays, such as the one you hear tonight. We hope you enjoy it. Now, the story of Christopher Thorne, whom you'll get to know better as The Plot Thickens.
Hawkins, are you up?
Why, yes, Mr. Chris, sir. Just a moment, sir.
Now, don't bother getting out of bed, Hawkins. I've brought your breakfast.
You've brought mine, sir?
Yes, here. Put this napkin under your chin. That's right. And stop looking pop-eyed.
Very good, sir. If you say so, sir. But this is most irregular. Most.
Well, that's just what I want it to be. Yes, I need a change, Hawkins. I've been up all night trying to think of a murder.
A murder? I do hope you haven't picked on me, sir.
Stop being facetious, Hawkins. You know very well I mean a murder for one of my mystery stories. Oh, imagine it, Hawkins. The great Christopher Thorne can't think of a plot. I'm going crazy.
Yes, sir.
Well, you needn't agree quite so wholeheartedly.
No, sir.
And why are you staring at those boiled eggs? You're supposed to eat them.
They are a trifle runny, sir. Don't you think this has gone far enough? Perhaps if I were to get up and prepare your breakfast as usual...
Oh, all right, then, if you insist. But I'd hope that if we sort of changed places, if I waited on you for a change, you might show your gratitude by thinking of a plot in return.
I fancy not, sir. I'm not at my best when it comes to homicide, sir. Now, if it were a love story you were writing, very possibly I might be of some assistance.
A love story? Oh, Hawkins, what do you know about love?
More than you'd imagine, sir. It was in an English garden, sir.
Yes, go on.
Well, there's not much more to it, sir. She married a baker. Seemed to prefer him to me, sir. I could never quite understand it.
Very poor taste, I should say. Oh, may I help you with your trousers, Hawkins?
Oh, definitely not, sir.
Just as you like. Ha-ha, Hawkins, to think that you've been concealing the ache of a broken heart.
Oh, it isn't as bad as all that, sir. But sometimes in the spring I do feel faintly nostalgic. There's something about the air. Don't you ever feel it, sir?
No, Hawkins, I don't have the time.
You should make time, sir. A man needs a bit of love in his life.
Now, don't try to sell me on moonlight and roses, when what I need is blood, and cadavers, shrieks in the night.
There's the telephone, sir. Do you wish to take it in here?
Yes, see who it is.
Mr. Christopher Thorne's apartment. I'll see if he's in, sir. Are you in, sir?
Who is it?
Mr. Julian Marshall, your publisher, sir. It's most urgent, he says, sir.
Oh, he would. Well, give it to me. Hello, Marshall. Yes, if you're calling about my next mystery story, it's as yet unborn. Yes, I know it's serious. You're worried. What do you think I am? Of course I'm trying. What do you think gives me this haggard look? Well, if we had television, you'd see it. Well, something's gone wrong. I just can't think of a thing, I tell you. Yes, I'll let you know as soon as I get an idea. Yes. Goodbye.
I take it he's upset, sir.
Of course he is. He makes money off my books. So do I. Besides, in trying times like these, the public needs my sort of stuff more than ever. And here I am with my head as empty as a vacuum tube. Oh, my mind's gone dry. Hawkins, what am I going to do?
Might I suggest a change of scene, sir? A frolic in the country?
No, Hawkins. That's all very well for your love stories, but I need an atmosphere of mystery and dark forebodings.
Oh, I see, sir. Well, then, how about a haunted house?
A haunted house?
Yes, sir. Cobwebs, dingy attics, dark, dampish cellars. It should be quite conducive, sir.
Cobwebs? Attics? Cellars? Hawkins, I believe you've got something. Yes, I'm sure you have. Find me a haunted house.
Very good, sir. But where?
Well, how should I know? It's your idea. Scour the countryside and don't take the first one you see. When you find one that's really haunted, we'll rent it.
Well, sir, now that you've seen the place, do you fancy it will serve the purpose?
Yes, Hawkins, I think you've done very well.
Thank you, sir.
If this house isn't haunted, some ghost has certainly missed a good bet for a happy home. Do you think you'll like living in the country, Hawkins?
I rather look forward to it for a time, sir.
Ah, then that settles it. Bring on the owner and tell him we'll sign up.
Very good, sir. But it isn't a he, sir.
It isn't a he? But Hawkins...
let me explain, sir. Mr. Hudson is the owner, but my dealings have been with his daughter, Miss Janet. She seems to take care of things.
I see. Then the young lady coming up the path wouldn't be Miss Janet, would it, Hawkins?
Yes, sir.
Well. Very decorative.
I thought so, sir. But I didn't expect you'd have time to notice. Might I remind you, sir, that you are here for the purpose of writing mystery stories?
Your insinuating remarks are quite uncalled for, Hawkins. Now let's get this business over with so that I can try and get to work.
Very good, sir. Good afternoon, miss.
Hello, Hawkins. And you must be Christopher Thorne. I'm Janet Hudson.
It's indeed a pleasure, Miss Hudson.
Do you like the house?
Oh, yes. Hawkins has just made up my mind to take it.
Oh, I'm so glad. I rather thought being a writer you might like it. It is picturesque.
Yes, indeed. And do you introduce us to the ghosts, or do we just have to wait for them?
Ghosts? What do you mean?
Well, the house is haunted, isn't it?
Certainly not.
But, Hawkins, didn't you tell me?
Yes, sir. I talked to numbers of the townsfolk, and they all assured me that it was haunted. Very definitely, sir.
That's a lot of talk, Mr. Thorne. It makes me so angry. Just because it's over 100 years old, everyone thinks it must be haunted. But it isn't.
Well, that's too bad.
What?
I say it's too bad. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid we won't be able to rent your house.
Mr. Thorne, I don't understand.
You see, I need atmosphere for my writing. What we wanted was a haunted house.
Oh, I see. Well, Mr. Thorne, maybe I shouldn't have denied those rumors so emphatically, but I didn't know. And oh, Mr. Thorne, we do need to rent the place so badly that I...
Yes, I understand. Well, then there are a few wispy inhabitants.
Why, yes, a number of peculiar things have happened. It's been going on ever since my great-grandfather was murdered in the next room there.
You don't mean it.
Oh, yes. One morning he was found sitting at the table and his head was cut off and it was on the table in front of him and they say the head was still talking.
Really, miss?
Yes, and the voice from poor old Grandpa Hudson is what people claim to have heard.
I see. Will there be a reduction in the rent for sharing our home with poor old Grandpa?
Why, well, we might arrange a slight...
No, on second thought, that won't be necessary. We ought to be glad to have Grandpa with us. And if we could feel sure that his great-granddaughter would pay us a visit now and again...
Well, if you'd really like me to.
Why, of course. Perhaps tomorrow for dinner. You and your father might sample Hawkins' cooking. He's really very good. Aren't you, Hawkins?
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure he is, but Father's somewhat of a recluse. I'd never get him out of the house, but I'd love to come.
Splendid. We've got a guest for dinner and a ghost. Shall we complete the deal, Hawkins?
Oh, I think so, sir. Grandfather Hudson sounds quite amusing, sir.
Let me remind you, Hawkins, we are not in search of comedy.
Quite, sir. And may I remind you that neither are we in search of an English garden?
What? Oh, yes, quite right, Hawkins. What we want is a nice, juicy murder. Well, Hawkins, what do you want?
I heard the sound of your typewriter, sir. I take it you've had an inspiration at last.
Getting 2 lines typed between 8 o'clock and midnight is an inspiration. Perhaps I have, Hawkins. Here, what do you think?
Oh, dear me, sir. I'm in her house here in the hills, all set about by daffodils. I beg pardon, sir. Is it a verse, sir?
Of course it's a verse. I sit down to write a murder, and what comes out? Poetry.
Oh, I shouldn't go so far as to call it that, sir. But I see your point. Perhaps it's the effect of Miss Hudson, sir.
All right, supposing it is. But what about this house? Isn't it going to have any effect on me? I'm a mystery story writer, Hawkins. My public expects gore.
I think it doesn't do to be impatient, sir. After all, we only did just move in, and it is our first night.
Well, what if it is? Is Janet's grandpa shy or something?
Did you say Janet's grandpa, sir?
Yes, I said Janet, and she calls me Chris. We got quite friendly this afternoon.
I see, sir. Well, perhaps her grandfather is waiting till we go to bed, sir. I must confess the thought of going up those great dark stairs gives me a bit of a shiver, sir.
Oh, nonsense, Hawkins.
If you say so, sir, but it is a great barn of a place for just the 2 of us. I say, sir, did you hear that, sir? I've a feeling it meant something.
Oh, it does mean something, Hawkins. Yes, it definitely does mean something. It means the wind is blowing through the chimney.
It sounds almost human, sir.
Well, maybe Grandpa's getting a tooth pulled or something. But I suppose you're alarmed at that noise, too?
Well, sir, it wouldn't be bones rattling now, would it, sir?
No, it wouldn't, Hawkins. You see, all old houses like this have shutters, and when the wind blows, they bang. You can prove it by every good ghost story ever written.
Oh, perhaps you're right about the shutters, sir. But that was unmistakably a knock on the door.
Of course it was. Why don't you see who it is?
Very good, sir. But it does seem an untoward hour.
If it's a ghost, Hawkins, show him in.
It seems we're still within reach of the post, sir. A special delivery letter from the city.
I see. And here I hoped it would be something unusual. Who's it from?
Look, sir. I say, sir, this is extraordinary, sir.
Well, don't just stand there, Hawkins. What's extraordinary?
It's a hand-printed note, sir. And look at this. Signed, Charles Massey. The murderer in The Perfect Crime by Christopher Thorne.
Well, very interesting. Letters from my own brainchildren. Let's see what he says. Dear Mr. Thorne, you brought me to life in The Perfect Crime. And then instead of letting me be caught and hanged, you left me alone in the world with my conscience. A fate worse than death. Now is my chance for revenge. Tomorrow evening, beware. You will die. condemned man ate a hearty meal. Well, Hawkins, if I'm going to depart this world tonight, I'm glad I'll be taking one of your excellent dinners with me.
Thank you, sir.
Chris, I wish you wouldn't joke about that letter. It frightens me.
My dear Janet, it needn't. You're not frightened, are you, Hawkins?
Well, sir, I must admit to feeling a trifle uncomfortable.
Oh, nonsense. Can't you see it's just some character who's read my stories? Why, it all comes under the heading of fan mail. He's a crank, that's all.
That's the part that worries me. His letter's so peculiar. He sounds insane.
Oh, no doubt he is.
Well, they're the most dangerous kind. If he's got this idea that he's some sort of a character out of your book and it becomes a phobia with him, what was this character like?
Charles Massey? Oh, one of the most diabolical murderers I ever...
Sort of a character out of your book and it becomes a phobia with him. What was this...
Murderers?
Oh.
I beg your pardon, sir. But what joke is...
Some told. Yes, he liked to threaten his victims with knives, too, and half scare them to death before finally finishing them off. Oh, darling. Now you must hear any more of the fellow.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Christopher Thorne, but you're going to hear a great deal more of me.
It's Massey, sir.
Yes, and he certainly looks the part. I suppose you're the fellow who sent me the charming little note yesterday.
I'm glad you thought it charming, Christopher Thorne.
Well, I'm glad, too, as far as that goes. But do we have to be so formal? Just call me Chris. How did you get in here, anyway?
That is not important. You taught Charles Massey to enter houses without being seen or heard. It's child's play, just as it will be child's play for me to kill you.
Chris, he's got a knife!
Good heavens, sir!
Ah, but he isn't going to use it.
Perhaps not. There are other ways of killing a man than by using a knife. Aren't there, Christopher Thorne? And you taught me all the ways. They were all conceived in your brain and then transferred to mine. You often like me to choke my victims. Would you like to die that way, Mr. Thorne?
Frankly, I hadn't given the matter much thought.
Please, Chris, can't you see?
Now, Janet, let me handle this. So you're Charles Massey.
I wasn't always. Your books. I've read them. I've studied them. And the perfect crime of Charles Massey. That's the one. That's the one I read over and over. I thought about Massey in my room at night, until at last I felt his blood flowing in my veins, his brain ticking in my head, until I am Charles Massey.
He's mad!
Yes, I think you're right, Janet. He's beginning to pall on me. Hawkins, don't you think you'd better show the gentleman out?
Me, sir?
Yes, you, Hawkins.
Very good, sir. Right this way. Mr. Massey, I said right to Charles!
Oh, he's got Hawkins by the throat!
Stay where you are, Mr. Thorne, or I will use this knife. This is just a little one-handed sample of what you may expect when your turn comes. Don't try to get out of the house. I'll be watching.
Where's he going now?
Well, the obvious answer is crazy. Did he hurt you, Hawkins?
Well, not greatly, sir. But he does have a nasty grip.
We've got to do something quickly. We've got to...
Oh, she's going to faint, sir.
I've got her.
No, I'll be all right.
Hawkins, there's no use frightening Miss Hudson to death. Now, I think this has gone far enough.
What do you mean, sir?
Don't you suppose I know that this is all a put-up job?
Chris!
But, sir...
Now, don't put on that poker face. I don't have an extension on my phone at home for nothing.
I see, sir. Then you overheard my conversation with Mr. Marshall?
Who's Mr. Marshall?
My publisher. He phoned Hawkins before we left town and said that he was going to send out a man to really scare a plot into me.
But I had no idea he was going to think of a plan like this, sir.
Yes, it was rather ingenious. I should have Marshall write my stories for me. Really, Hawkins, I had difficulty keeping a straight face when that fellow had you by the neck.
He was quite convincing, wasn't he, sir?
Well, the game's up now, Hawkins. You can't keep any secrets from me. Better tell the fellow to go away. Miss Hudson doesn't like him.
Oh, I'm not frightened any longer. Look! That window, it's opening.
Oh, he's up to something else now. All right, come on in, Massey.
But, Chris, it isn't Massey.
Hello.
My, another caller. And who are you?
I've come to haunt the house.
To what? And who, if I may ask, sent you?
Mr. Marshall. He give me $50 if I just break in the place and be scary like.
Your partner, didn't he send anyone with you?
No, just me alone.
Good heavens, sir. Don't you
Wait
see
a minute,
what...
Hawkins. Listen, are you certain you're the only man Mr. Marshall hired?
Sure I am. He interviewed a lot of guys, but he picked on me because I can make all kind of noises like people dying and things. You want to hear me?
No, I should say not. Hawkins, this isn't as funny as we thought it was.
No, sir. It appears that Mr. Massey is not a put-up job.
Right. We've got a maniac in the house.
Oh, I knew the man was mad. What do we do, Chris?
Where are the nearest police?
About 5 miles. The operator will get him for you.
I'll try, sir. Hello? I say, operator!
You folks ain't going no bulls on my account. I'm getting out of here.
He jumped out of the window.
Good. If there's one thing we don't need at the moment, it's noises like people dying. What's the matter, Hawkins?
The line is dead, sir.
What do you mean? Let me try it.
I beg your pardon, sir. Don't you recall that Charles Massey always severed the wires before entering a house?
Oh, Chris, I never should have let you rent this place. I made up that about Grandpa's ghost, but
yes, I know you did. It was rather ingenious on the spur of the moment.
But it must be true of people that there's something evil going on.
No, this isn't your fault. This crank would have hunted me out wherever I was.
We've got to do something, and quickly, sir. At any time, the fellow may come in and
finish me off, yes. A pleasant picture, isn't it? But if we just knew where he was at the moment.
This house is so big and rambling. He may be upstairs or in the next room listening to everything we say. Oh, Chris, if anything happens to you...
Oh, it's you I'm worried about, Janet.
Perhaps, sir. We might corner him in a room somewhere and lock the door. Then I could go for help.
But we haven't got a gun,
And
Hawkins.
he's a madman.
He warned us not to, but I think we ought to take a chance and try to get out of the house.
But would that be wise, sir? He may be lurking anywhere in the garden. At least we have lights here.
Hawkins is right, Chris. You can't go out there in the dark.
I suppose there's something in what you say. Well, Hawkins, we're 2 men against 1. We should be able to take care of him.
Yes, sir. We can try, sir.
The lights!
He's pulled the switch in the basement, sir.
Stupid of me. I should have expected that. Working in the dark was another of Massey's tricks.
Now we can't even see.
Hawkins, I think there's a candle in the next room, on that big desk.
I'll fetch it, sir.
Oh, that'll be better than nothing. Where are you, Janet?
Here, Chris.
So you are. That's right. Hold on to me. Or better still, I'll hold on to you.
Oh, Chris, I'm so frightened.
What? Frightened with my arms around you?
Where shall I place the candle, sir?
Put it over...
Wait! Place it on the small table to your left.
Do as he says, Hawkins.
Yes, sir.
That's better. Now step over near your master. Very thoughtful of you to fetch the candle. It lights that corner of the room so nicely and leaves me here in the dark.
Where we can't see you. Yes, very clever, Massey, or whatever your name is. But there's nothing to stop me from...
Chris, what?
Please, sir. Don't go near him. He's got that knife.
And if you take another step, I'll throw it at you. You are wise to hesitate, Christopher Thorne. No doubt you'd forgotten momentarily how proficient your Charles Massey is with a knife.
I beg you, sir. He never misses.
Be seated, Mr. Thorne. On the sofa will do. That's right. You haven't long to live. You've made me suffer, and now it's your turn. Your brain thought of the crimes for me to commit, and when you'd finished with me, you left me to wander the earth.
Don't be a fool, man. Massey was only a character in a book.
Am I a character in a book? No. No, I'm Charles Massey, and I've killed and killed for you. My hands are so dripping with blood that a little more won't make any difference. And I seem to know somehow that I'll be free after I've killed you.
Well, if I've got to be die, I may as well make myself comfortable.
What are you doing?
Just pulling this cushion from behind my back and throwing it at the candle.
Good aim, sir. You've put it out.
Yes. Now, Mr. Massey, you can't see me either. We're on equal terms.
You think so? You think just because Charles Massey was your brainchild that you know what he will do, how he will act. But you're wrong, Christopher Thorne. You're wrong. I've outgrown your puny little plots.
Don't go near him, Chris.
The way I'm going to kill you, it will be a surprise. It's a way of committing murder that you've never even thought of. My last crime. Charles Massey's masterpiece.
Charles Massey's masterpiece? What a title for a book. Well, if I ever get out of this, I'll be able to write a masterpiece.
Honestly, Chris, do you really mean that? You've got a plot?
Yes, but what good is
Well, thank goodness. Hawkins, light the candle again. And, Father, you can stop acting. It was a wonderful performance.
Well, thank you, my dear. I haven't enjoyed anything so much since I played in The Mad Monster.
Now, wait, just a moment. Do you mean to tell me...
Well, you wanted something frightening to happen, Chris, and I knew Father would enjoy it. And now that Hawkins has the candle lit again, I can introduce you. Chris, this is my father.
How do you do, sir? I guess I look a bit better with the wig off.
I say, sir, it's all a joke, isn't it?
Yes, Hawkins. It seems we were taken in, and beautifully.
But it was also real, sir.
It ought to have been. Folks used to think me quite an actor.
You see, Chris, Father was one of the greatest stars the silent pictures ever had, Grenville Hudson.
I say, sir, I used to be a fan of yours. It's no wonder I didn't recognize you, though, sir. You look different in every picture.
The art of makeup, Hawkins. Wonderful thing. Well, this has been fun for an out-of-work actor.
It's just a shame, Father. You're as good as you ever were. You see, Chris, when the talking pictures came in, Father sort of got pushed out.
Well, you're going to get pushed right back in, Mr. Hudson. Yes, if you can fool a dyed-in-the-wool mystery writer, you must be good. Hollywood's been wanting to buy my perfect crime, but they haven't been able to show me an actor who could play the part of Massey. Well, you're it.
Father, did you hear that? Oh, Chris.
My dear Mr. Thorne, I don't know quite what to say. I'd practically given up hope of ever doing pictures again. I don't know how I can thank you.
Oh, don't thank me, Mr. Hudson. Look what you've done for me already. You've given me an idea for a plot. Why, it's an inspiration just having you around.
Well, thank you, but I only played the part. My daughter thought of my impersonating Massey, and she sent me into the city to mail the notes yesterday afternoon.
I see. Well, Hawkins, don't you think you'd better go and turn the lights on before Miss Hudson gets any more ideas?
Very good, sir.
I'll go with you, Hawkins. I know just where the switch is.
Thank you, sir. I say, sir, I've always wondered, in that picture where you played the part of the man with two heads...
Oh, that was simple enough, Hawkins. You see...
Great old guy, your father, Janet. But as for you little pretending to be frightened, screaming your head off every 5 minutes.
I was only giving you what you wanted, atmosphere.
Were you pretending all the time?
What do you mean?
Well, for instance, when I was holding you in my arms, I couldn't help but think, well...
What is it you're trying to say, Chris?
Well, I've been wondering if I could make some arrangements to keep your father in the family. It would be wonderful when I couldn't think of a plot. Don't you see?
No, I don't. And for a famous writer, you don't seem to make yourself very clear.
But you see, I've never had any experience with love stories.
Oh.
I've read them, though. Boy meets girl, and bang, they're in love. I never thought it quite plausible before.
Then am I to understand you've changed your mind?
Definitely, my dear, since meeting you.
Chris, look, the window!
Uh-oh, that man again. What do you want now?
I come back to haunt the house. I telephoned Mr. Marshall, and he says I gotta make my scary noises.
Oh, well, now you listen to me. You go right back to Mr. Marshall and tell him we've had all the mystery we want for one evening. Haven't we, Janet?
Yes, Chris. And you might tell Mr. Marshall, too, that Mr. Thorne has a plot he's going to write for him, but that just at the moment he's working on a love story, and he's got to finish that first.
have heard The Plot Thickens, a mystery comedy presented by the Studio Players Guild. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Studio Players Guild and taking part in future productions, just drop a line to WWNY in Watertown. And now, here is the cast of tonight's play. Chris was played by Charles Pierce and Hawkins by Bert Walker. Marilyn Console was Janet, and Massey was played by Earl Kelly. Pat Rayome was the man with the scary noises. Sound effects were handled by your announcer. Technical operations by Caroline Ryan. Tonight's play was produced and directed by Jim Higgins. We cordially invite you to listen next week at the same time for the next presentation of the Studio Players Guild, and hear a story of romance entitled Case History of a Wedding. Until then, this is Vern Wenderoff speaking for tonight's cast and for the Studio Players Guild and bidding you good night.